Good afternoon, Cabinet colleagues, and welcome to our Cabinet meeting on Wednesday the 8th of October 2025. We will kick off straight away. Craig, do we have any apologies, please?
Apologies from Councillor Chambers, Councillor Dinser and Councillor Swan.
Thank you very much. I'm very echoey today. What's happening here? Item 2. Do you want me to keep talking? Testing, still very echoey. Item 2, any late items, please?
So there's one late item, Chair. So this is Appendix 2 for item 13 as the heads of terms for the transport functions from Derby City Council to East Midlands Combined Authority. It was unable to be included in the published papers on the 30th of September because the constituent authorities of EMCA were still finalising those heads of terms, but subsequently they have been agreed, and in order to meet the timelines with those constituent authorities and EMCA for the transfer of those transport functions, it has to be considered at this month's meeting and can't be delayed until the next.
Thank you for that explanation. Yeah, I was happy to accept that as a late item to the agenda, so we'll discuss that when we get to item 13. Item 3 on the agenda, please. Any receipt of petitions?
None, Chair.
Item 4, identification of urgent items to which call-in will not apply.
None.
Thank you. Item 5 is declarations of interest. And item 6 is the minutes of the last meeting held on the 10th of September 2025. Have we all agreed that they're an accurate reflection of the minutes? Yep. Councillor Kozlowski, thank you. And Councillor Khan, okay, thank you. Item 7 is recommendations from Executive Scrutiny Board. I have the recommendations and we'll take them as usual on an item by item basis. And finally, we go to item 8, which is the minutes extract of the Children and Young People Scrutiny Review Board. That's the Youth Justice Plan 2025 to 26.
I can give a brief explanation. So just following the decision at Council Cabinet on the 10th of December to approve the draft Youth Justice Plan for consultation, the item was referred through to the Children and Young People Scrutiny Board. The board reviewed that draft plan at that meeting on the 15th of December, at which they made a number of recommendations which are outlined in the minute extract. An updated version of the Youth Justice Plan is attached as Appendix 2 for this item, and the report incorporates the recommendations from CYP on page 14, and the decision in this item is just to whether to accept those recommendations and progress the plan through to Council next month.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hazelgrave.
Thank you, Chair. It's refreshing to see that the committee did look at this in detail and did examine it and came up with some suggestions in which the consultation would best be advised or constituted so that we get really good outcomes from anyone who's interested in this whole field. To kind of allay the fears of what was discussed in the committee meeting and the concerns that were expressed, we did have recently an outstanding report for the Youth Justice Service, and that is over a number of years, their performance over a number of years, and of course their current performance. And it is not a concern of me, and I assure anyone who is watching that if there were any concerns with what was happening in that field, I would be all over it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hazelgrave. Okay, are we all happy to approve the minutes? Okay, thank you very much. Then we move on to our key decisions. The first item, item 9, is the Markeaton Crematorium Project Design Budget. Councillor Nwaha.
Thank you, Chair. The report before Cabinet updates members on the Markeaton Crematorium and Burial Provision Project and seeks approval to draw up to £899,501 from the allocated capital budget to progress to design stage, river stages 1 to 4. This stage will deliver detailed design, surveys, and costings to inform a full business case that Cabinet can subsequently consider. The project is built on a robust business case. An investment appraisal has confirmed that rebuilding a new CREM adjacent to the existing site is the most financially sustainable option. It also takes into account expected housing growth, evolving market expectations, and the need to maintain or regain market share within the region. The Marketing Crematorium has served the city since 1956, but its infrastructure is reaching obsolescence. The current cremators are beyond their useful life, and while the temporary unit has been installed to maintain continuity, a long-term solution is essential. In parallel, projections indicate that the city only has 10 to 15 years of burial capacity remaining under current provisions. The proposed procurement route is a two-stage design and build contract via the SCAPE regional framework. This approach enables early contractor involvement, open book pricing, and risk sharing, all intended to ensure value for money. The design stage will explore lower carbon cremator technologies and examine wider sustainability measures such as heat recovery, solar panels, and landscaping for biodiversity enhancement. Engagement is central to this project. Funeral directors have already been briefed, and the Crematorium Access and Inclusion Subgroup has been convened, drawing on the Council's Access and Inclusion Hubs. A formal public consultation will run during the design phase. Visits have also been made to other recently built crematoria across the region to learn from their design and operational experience. Legally, the Council is obliged as a burial authority under the Local Government Act 1972 to provide suitable facilities. The land being considered is already identified in the local plan as appropriate for crematorium and cemetery uses, and is currently leased for grazing with the arrangements for termination of the lease to be managed as part of the project. In summary, this request for funding will allow the Council to move from concept to fully costed design, putting the Cabinet in a position to make an informed decision on whether to proceed with the construction once all technical, financial, legal, and community inputs have been assessed.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Nwaha. Cabinet, do you have any comments or questions on this item? Okay, thank you. Obviously, very, very much needed in our city, and it's been a long time coming. I believe that the planning of this has been put off for some time, previous to our administration, so I'm really glad that we are running with this and making it happen for our city. Councillor Hazelgrave.
Chair, I do think we need to grasp the nettle on this. We've lost the market share gradually and perhaps even more acutely over the past few years. And we do need to have a facility. A city of this size should be able to be an attractive place, have an attractive place for people to say their last goodbye to their dear ones. And I think the whole concept and process is dearly needed.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Khan.
Yeah, just to sort of add to that, basically, we know that it served its purpose. We require another one, and the fact that people from our city are having to go to Aston-on-Trent, etc. So, as Councillor Hazelgrave said, the competition is there. We're losing revenue. Not just that; it's an inconvenience to people who have lost a loved one and are, in a very somber mood. The last thing they want to do is to be travelling out of the city for a service that we should provide.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Councillor Kerr, you're here today on behalf of the Liberal Democrats. Do you have any questions on this item?
I do. Thank you, Chair. This follows the recommendation from scrutiny, which probably, Chair, you're going to come to, about the possibility of having a venue there where you could get a coffee while you want to talk about somebody who's passed on, or to even have space for a wake. And it links to that because, as far as I know, the existing building is still structurally sound. And if it is, could we ask officers to look at the possibility of reuse of that building and to provide a cafe space and using the beautiful glazed windows that we have at the moment, rather than simply demolishing it?
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. So your comments do bring me on to the executive scrutiny recommendations. That was actually listed under the excluded part of the meeting, but I'm happy to address it now. The recommendation was that the Executive Scrutiny Board resolved to agree that Markeaton Crematorium has a place in the hearts of Derby people, and having a place for people to hold a wake or a cafe to meet friends and remember loved ones could be a vision that they would help fund. Could Council Cabinet please include consultation on community funding as part of how an extended offer could be provided, potentially as part of a phased scheme? Ultimately, Councillor Kerr, while I think the sentiment is a really nice one, I'm not aware of any crematoriums that have that kind of facility attached to them. Unfortunately, we have a limited budget window, and so there isn't any additional spend to be able to investigate that option. Which officer are we referring to? Sam? Can I ask you, obviously, as I said, the window of envelope window is quite tight. Could you explain to us what the plans are for the empty building once the new one's been built?
Oh, sorry, my mic wasn't on. Yeah, I mean, I'll divert to Christos for the detail on this, Chair, but my view on this is that as we come to, so as we develop the crematorium, we will do it in a staged approach. So we will build the new one and then demolish the old one, and at that point in time is when we would consider what the options are around that building. So I'll defer to Christos to give detail on that.
Hi, Chair. Yeah, I'm happy to come in on this. So in terms of the existing building, it's something that will probably be determined during the design phase. We're yet to have a definitive plan for what we're going to do with that existing building. Currently in the modelling, we've got demolition in place for it, and there could be alternatives for that use. We're thinking potentially memorialisation could be an option, also additional car parking space for the building footprint itself, but yet to be determined, and probably will be determined as part of the design phase once we go through consultation as well.
Okay, thank you for that additional clarity. So it's not a no, but I don't think I can accept the scrutiny recommendation at this time, because actually we're just at the very beginning phases, and that, as it's been clearly pointed out, it can't be predetermined at this point, certainly not within our budget. So I will decline the recommendation, but we will keep it in consideration. Councillor Hesselgrave.
Thank you, Chair. We've all been, surely, at least to one funeral at the crematorium, and we know that they have to run like clockwork, otherwise there would be an unseemly backlog. And people arrive on site, there's room after the service at the back for them to talk and communicate and really express and have a chat, etc., and meet people that they haven't met for ages, and all that goes on, which is great. And it's part of that whole process and part of the grieving process for those really close to whoever's gone. But then those people need to move on because another service is coming out. And would that not happen in any cafe? If people were to assemble in a cafe and they're only allowed half an hour to actually occupy that before they have to leave room for others, it could be quite difficult. And also, as you mentioned, we don't know of any precedent where this is opened up on a crematorium. There would be a cost in staffing that. There would seem to need to be someone there all the time in that cafe in case people did use it. And that would be a staffing cost that could be not productive in terms of what it brings back. So it could be a revenue drain. I'm just thinking of the negative sides. And I understand the sentiments behind it completely, but I don't think using public money in a venture like that, which could be a gamble, would be appropriate. Maybe at a later stage when we've got clearer plans and we know more information about that, we may think differently. But at the moment, a priori, that's my view.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, we'll move on to the recommendations, which is 2.1 to 2.3. Are we all in agreement? Thank you very much, Cabinet. Okay, so item 10 is a proposal to consult on an amended council tax support scheme 2026 to 27. And in Councillor Dinder's absence, I'd like to ask Councillor Kozlowski to present this report.
Thank you, Chair. This paper seeks approval to undertake a public consultation on proposed changes to the council tax support scheme. The consultation will be for 8 weeks, aiming to start on Monday the 13th of October. After the consultation is finalised, a further report will go to Cabinet outlining final recommendations. This will be following the announcement of the December finance settlement from Government, when there will be more certainty around the financial position of the Council going forward. The main council tax support scheme change is to move the current gap from Band A to Band B. CAP rather, not GAP. The ambition is to support the most financially vulnerable residents and remove some of the burden of council tax from them. The report aligns with statutory guidance, ensuring that Derby consult with the public and relevant stakeholders on any proposed changes to their council tax support scheme. Consultation ensures transparency and gives the council the opportunity to invite the views of residents who may be affected by the changes and other stakeholders, including the council's preceptor. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kozlowski. Cabinet, do we have any comments on this? Councillor Onwaha.
Thank you, Chair. I really do welcome this proposal because, amongst other things, what it does is to lower the contribution cap for which people will be entitled to this support from 30% to 20%. And what that does is include a lot more of our residents who, although are living through difficulties, are not being supported in the way that they should, because some mathematical formula has put them out of that threshold. Now, we know that as an administration and as a party, what we do want to do is to stand for those who can't help themselves, and to do as much as we can to make sure that people live to their full potentials. And if by helping with some council tax support, we are able to do that even in the minimum, there should be no argument against doing that. So I do support this.
Thank you very much, Councillor. We're all extremely supportive of this. Obviously, this is an initiative that came from us. It's something that we asked our officers to look closely at. And it's in a recognition that, you know, people are still really struggling out there. And it seems that we have an imbalance of people who can't afford their bills. They can't afford to live, shall we say. And even though, and let's be clear, you know, a lot of these people are working. So it's a mixture of the standard of living, the cost of living, and wage challenges that are just not meeting in the middle. And by expanding this window, we are reaching a wider audience. And I think that's a really, really important thing for us to be able to do, and it gives us the flexibility to actually shift the balance from people who are actually falling behind on their payments, and we're not being able to claim that money back from them. They're just simply it's unaffordable for them. If we're shifting that amount of money that we're losing because we can't claim it from them, and we're putting it into support, that is surely a much more proactive way of being able to offer that support, helping people to pay their bills, and actually, hopefully, we'll see as this progresses whether one counteracts the other or not. I hope that the public sees this as, you know, as a really positive move and a supportive move for those who are struggling. So with that, if there's no other comments, yes, Councillor Hazelgrave.
Just that this could lead to a better focus on by the team who are the collection team and chasing up people who haven't paid, to be looking at people who won't pay and dealing with them rather than there will be fewer can't pays. So we're not chasing people who can't pay and are in this system because they can actually get over the threshold and pay the money they're asked to pay, which is a lower amount. And that's a really good thing in terms of the fact that we're using experienced council officers to deal with the more difficult ones and intractable ones, which actually could deliver more money because they may be higher band taxpayers.
Thank you, Councillor Hazelgrave. Yeah, it also points to the fact that nobody wants to raise council tax. We all know that, and every councillor faces that difficult decision every year. But the reality is that we have to raise funds, we have to raise it through tax, and we have to raise our council tax to the maximum in order to be able to cover our costs and provide the services that we need. I think we all recognise that the council tax system is not the ideal, and in an ideal world we would be reviewing the whole system itself, but that's not coming forward at the moment, and in that absence I think that the best way that we can tackle the challenges that council tax presents to some of our residents, I believe that this is the best way to apply it, as opposed to not raising council tax to the highest. When we do that, some people don't really see a great deal of benefit from that. It can be as little a difference as 50p a week to some people, which they just don't notice. It will truly make a difference where it's absolutely needed. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I mean, it's absolutely acknowledged by everyone who studies taxation that council tax is a very regressive taxation system. So when we increase council tax, it has a disproportionate effect on those who are less well off, and we are very mindful of that. So this is a way of ensuring that those who really are unable to pay are assisted, while those with broader shoulders do carry more of the tax. And I've said this before, and I'll repeat it again, that we are very grateful that a reasonable proportion of the council tax is now constituted of the social care levy, which the people of Derby pay. So that money is now, 20 million a year is now going from our council tax receipts into care. So that money is well used, it's well needed, it funds statutory services. And so it's quite right that we, unfortunately, we do have to put up council tax, and it's quite right that we do because we need to help those who need our care needs. But it's also quite right that we take fully into account those people who really are struggling in this environment. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Okay, I'll go over to Councillor Kerr. Do you have any questions on this item? Thank you. Okay, the Executive Scrutiny Board recommended resolve to ask Council Cabinet that the public consultation over the Council Tax Support Scheme should include significantly more analysis than provided in the report on the arrears and including Band B, and also a reminder that this is paid for from other council income, such as council tax from all other council taxpayers. Kind of needed a full stop in there somewhere, I think. It's not the easiest recommendation to understand, but to the best of my ability, I think the limit to Band B doesn't preclude other people in higher council tax bands for applying for council tax support, importantly. But the allocation of the discount is limited to Band B levels. So at this point in time, considering that there continue to be financial challenges to the council, we consider it prudent that at this point we are limiting this to Band B. The total arrears for council tax support claimants are included in the report. So the Scrutiny Board has asked for significantly more analysis on the arrears, but the total arrears is in there. And they are detailed for context, illustrating that there is a disproportionate amount of arrears for claimants of the council tax support scheme. So, you know, it's made as clear as it can be, I believe, in this report that more people are in arrears who are in receipt of council tax support. if we extend the amount of council tax support and we allow more people to access it, and we also lower the discount, the threshold, then that is helping those people who are actually in arrears. So if one transfers to the other, we hope that the cost will move actually from a place of want and of negativity to a place of support, and that's what the aim is. It's yet to see whether that transpires, and we really will keep a close eye on it. On that basis, I'm not going to accept this recommendation because I think that all the considerations have been made. So with that in mind, I'll move on to the recommendations, which is 2.1 to 2.2. Are we all in agreement? Thank you very much. So item 11 is the South Derby Growth Zone. I'll present this report. Basically, the decision Cabinet is asked to make today is on the South Derby Growth Zone, which is an important milestone in this project. The South Derby Growth Zone is a significant housing and job creation opportunity that spans Derby City and South Derbyshire District. To unlock the housing and commercial development, Derbyshire County Council have secured levelling up funding to construct a new junction on the A50 and a new link road, part of which extends into Derby City. This report asks Cabinet to approve delegation of our highways powers to Derbyshire County Council to facilitate land acquisition and infrastructure delivery. Enabling our County Council partner to deliver the entire infrastructure project means it is delivered in the most efficient and cost-effective way possible. The infrastructure will unlock extension of Infinity Park Derby and housing development sites, which will be brought forward by a partnership of public bodies and private landowners and developers. So we look forward to continuing our work with Derbyshire County Council and our other agencies to deliver this important project. Basically, this project has been at a bit of a standstill for a while because although the levelling up funding, and I think it was the largest funding in the country, £50 million was awarded to put an extra junction on the A50 to access Infinity Park. But between the time of awarding that funding and now, construction costs have doubled. So there's a financial gap at the moment. So it's halted the project of the road junction itself. This is a part of trying to unlock that ultimately by transferring over the powers to the county council to do it all as one. Otherwise it gets really messy, it gets more expensive and more complicated. So I do recommend that we accept this at Cabinet today to give this project the best chance of progressing. I know that businesses already on Infinity Park are relying on this construction work and this junction coming into place. It's a big project, including MCA as well, has a lot of skin in the game because of the investment zone as well. So really, really important part. I have been all over this. I have double-checked on the detail. I did have concerns about handing over powers to the County Council, but I have been absolutely reassured that we've got all our safeguarding in place and we don't need to be concerned with that. At the right time, everything will return back to us. Councillors, Cabinet even, do you have any comments or questions? Councillor Khan?
Yeah, just to, echo what you said. I mean, we have to support this, bearing in mind that it's going to be bringing in 4,500 new homes, 3.4 million square feet of new employment floor space, and an additional 5,000 new jobs. So all this is much needed and it'll go a long way towards our housing targets as well.
Super. Thank you, Councillor Khan. Councillor Hazelgrave.
Thank you, Chair. This has been on the cards for years, hasn't it? And, that park, that area that we're going to be developing, any potential firm that's going to be a supply chain or needs a supply chain to it is going to benefit immensely by that quicker route to the A50 and therefore the M1 on one side and over to the west coast as well via Stoke. So I think this is really something that really makes the site and the area much more attractive and also much more manageable in terms of traffic flow if we're going to develop so many houses in a particular area. So I think this is something that's been on the cards for ages, and moving to Derbyshire County Council to actually get on with it rather than having two authorities involved is going to speed up the process. And I have every confidence that Derbyshire County Council in this particular area can deliver as well as we could.
Thank you. If there are no other comments from Cabinet, Councillor Kerr, do you have any questions? Okay, thank you. The Executive Scrutiny Board resolved to note the report and welcomed progress on the scheme. So with that, the recommendations are 2.1 to 2.2. Thank you, Cabinet. Okay, item 12, the Derby and Derbyshire Community Transformation Programme. We're going to Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this project is about Derby City Council and our health partners trying to better serve the people of Derby by working in an integrated way to improve reablement, help maintain independence, and also contribute to the issues that we often see at the Royal Derby and the Kingsway hospitals. So often, people cannot be admitted to hospital and discharged in a timely way because they're unable to leave as the discharge care system isn't working well enough to help them through the whole system. Across the health and care system, more and more people are in need of assistance and support, and that isn't going to diminish. So Derby City Council has already pioneered a partnership with the Derbyshire Community Health Services Trust to provide care and support more effectively, and that service is called the Community First Programme. Thus far, that scheme has proved very successful, and it's offered better outcomes for people, and it's operating more efficiently. So this community transformation project has been driven by the Community Health Services Trust, and it's a system-wide initiative involving Derbyshire as well. Derby's contribution of upfront costs to this scheme is £301,000, and that will come from the existing adult social care budget. So this is, in many ways, a kind of invest-to-save action for us, because cost avoidance for the council is estimated to be in the region of £1 million a year from the scheme as it becomes embedded. However, the main focus of this scheme is delivering better support for people by working in a more integrated way, and we will be playing our part in trying to improve our residents' experience of accessing and discharge from hospital and the support they receive before and after any hospital experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Very, very important scheme and partnership. Any comments? Councillor Hazelgrave.
Just to say that the increased access to reablement services will allow access from the community, increasing equity of access. So equity of access, but also the whole thing of reablement of people who are out of work and take a long time to get back in. If that can be speeded up, that's really good in terms of getting Britain working, which is a key aspect of the government's policy, but also is really good for their physical and mental well-being in particular, and also their family will benefit from them getting back to full employment and full wages quickly. So everyone benefits. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure we all know somebody that has had a hospital stay and has ended up having to be in there for far too long because they've not been able to have the support they needed to get out. I've got personal experience of it. My nana was stuck in hospital for far longer than she needed to be. Finally was moved to a care home for that transition stage, but she was there far, far longer than was necessary. It was not good for her mental health whatsoever. So anything that we can do to get people back into their own homes with the support they need, I think is a much more satisfactory answer for everybody concerned. Okay, thank you. Councillor Kerr, do you have any comments? Okay, thank you. The Scrutiny Board are resolved to note the report, and that's that. So item 12 is recommendations 2.1 to 2.5. Thank you very much, and best of luck with that scheme. Councillor Martin. So, item 13 is the proposed transfer of transport functions to the East Midlands Combined County Authority. I've got a note here somewhere. Verna, can I ask you to present this report for us, please, in Councillor Swan's absence? Thank you.
Of course, Chair. This is as you all know, MCA is the local transport authority and was when it was established for the region. And as part of that establishment, a 2-year period was agreed with the Department of Transport for the transfer of relevant functions from the constituent authorities, which are ourselves, Nottingham, Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire, and that included passenger transport. That transition period ends on the 31st of March next year. So the regulations for MCA sets out what transport functions transfer entirely, which ones are held concurrently during that 2-year transition period, and which of the very small remain concurrent. And Appendix 1, the protocol in Appendix 1, guides you through that, and that really sets out the relationship between MCA and the constituent authorities in the exercise of those functions. And perhaps the important thing to say here is that those when no concurrent functions transfer to MCA and there is no requirement to jointly exercise them, and the council is under no obligation to consult with MCA on the exercise of them. So when they're concurrent, we have them, but they are only very small. So the report, as I said, covers passenger transport specifically, the transition of functions, budgets, assets, property and people. And it supports the aspiration of the original devolution deal, which is set out in 4.10. The functions that transfer from the 4 authorities are all set out in 14.4, local bus services, policies, concessionary fares, ticketing, etc., all the things that you would imagine. And MCA's worked very closely with the authorities to develop a transition plan, which was approved by MCA Board on the 16th of December. Appendix 2, which is the heads of terms, which has been referred to earlier. So that is a key document which will guide the development of a full inter-authority agreement, and this supports the transfer. Those heads of terms are non-binding, but they have been, as you might imagine, between the complexity of 4 different authorities, considerable debate between the constituent councils and MCA to get to this point. But it allows us that certainty that we can move forward to an inter-authority agreement, and the delegation sought in paragraph 2.6 of the report allows us to move forward with that. The IAA is not actually required by statute, but it does mean we'll have a more controlled transfer and a more assured process. All the 4 CAs will be taking this heads of terms through their own approval process across the year, and then they will move forward to the October MCA Board for sign-off. Is that enough?
It certainly is, Verna. It's really complex. And thank you to you and the team for all your work on this. It's considerable. You know, when you think that since, how long have we been a unitary? 1978, was it? Or am I making that up? 97. Yeah, I got the numbers the wrong way around. 1997. So we've had the transport authorities sitting, those powers sitting with us for all that time, handing those over and trying to smooth it all over is considerable. Some considerations for Derby I just wanted to raise, in particular, which have been ironed out thanks to Verna's team and Verna. Passenger transport operation across our region is really complex, obviously. Each county, combined authority has a unique set of concerns alongside the shared issues. Our concerns have been about harmonisation of concessionary fares and implications of a future levy, as Derby has the lowest concessionary fare offer of the four authorities. So harmonisation of the non-statutory concessions will need to be funded. So you've got EMCA have confirmed that in 26-27 provision will be the same as the current year, so our gold card and our B line will continue. So things like that, you know, and it is in all this complexity, there are people at the end of this. There are people who use our transport and they're not really aware of how this is going to affect them. But for us, the important part has been making sure that there's a complete, you know, seamless transition and that nobody's losing out that lives within the Derby region. So also securing exemption of the transfer for bus shelters under the Clear Channel contract. So that's been agreed by EMCA. Securing a pathway for transfer of lease on the bus station, that will no longer be in our control. So, you know, somebody else can fix the doors on the bus station. And of course, ensuring that our staff who are going to be two-peed over, that they're treated appropriately and fairly as well. So all of those things are happening and have been dealt with by our team. Anything from you, Councillor Kerr, on this item? Okay. So the Executive Scrutiny Board resolved to note the report, in which case I will go to recommendations 2.1 to 2.10. Are we all in agreement? Thank you. EMCA thanks you. Which moves us on to item 14, which is funding for feasibility and pre-construction work at the new Stores Road hub. Councillor Kozlowski.
Thank you. Cabinet will recall that the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs have mandated that a free weekly food waste collection service should be provided by the Council from the 31st of March next year. To support this, Derby City Council plans to acquire an additional 14 refuse collection vehicles by January next year. However, this does pose a number of challenges for the Council. The existing Stores Road depot lacks the capacity to accommodate the new vehicles under its current operating licence and in terms of physical space. On the 9th of April 2025, Council Cabinet approved the purchase of 7.5 acres of industrial land off Stores Road for the delivery of a new depot facility. It is intended that the new site will provide a home for the Council's highway service, allowing the Council's highways fleet and associated equipment and staff to be relocated out of the existing Stores Road site, freeing up capacity for the new refuse collection service. The new highways depot will occupy approximately half the new site, and the Council had been exploring the potential for another public sector partner to purchase the other half of the site to develop a new facility. However, over the last few weeks, we've been informed that the partner is not able to progress with the purchase of the site, and therefore proposals are being brought forward to look at the feasibility of delivering a much-needed storage solution for the Council on this site. Under this proposal, the Council would look to consolidate its current storage facilities, many of which are in poor condition and not fit for purpose, into a single central location at the Stores Road site. This will optimise storage for the Museums Trust, libraries and Derby Live equipment. The feasibility work will guide the development of a fit-for-purpose storage facility alongside the new depot, ensuring efficient operations and cost savings for the Council. This consolidation would also allow the disposal of existing storage buildings, reducing costs. So this report seeks approval to the expenditure of up to 1.673 million to complete pre-construction and feasibility work to assess the deliverability of both the new highways depot and a potential storage facility on the site, and to amend the capital programme accordingly. Pre-construction works are necessary to progress the project. They will facilitate site preparation and will also deliver feasibility and design works, support planning applications and fund necessary survey works. This work will inform the full business case to develop the site in its entirety, which will be brought to Cabinet for approval in due course.
Sorry, thank you.
Not finished actually,
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
Fiddling with the papers. The original capital programme allocated £9 million for the new depot, with a 2.5 million contribution expected from an external partner, now withdrawn, reducing the budget to 6.5 million. An additional £4 million has been earmarked for a storage solution at Stores Road, with phased funding over 2 years. Both the depot and storage projects are now being consolidated into a single scheme, as I described. By January next year, interim measures will relocate the new vehicles to the existing depot, necessitating site modifications costing £45,000. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Kozlowski. Really, really important scheme. We all know how desperately it's needed. There'll be some very happy officers, but also a very happy director of the museums, Tony Butler, I know will be jumping around in glee that a proper storage for the museum's collection will be, is finally in the planning. So it's very, very welcome by us. Are there any comments, Cabinet? Councillor Nwaha.
Thanks, Chair. Well, I'm sure you will not be surprised that I want to make a comment on this, seeing as overseeing the delivery of the services that our fantastic officers will be offering, and they are fantastic officers. I just want to say that I really do support this scheme, because we do need to get our officers equipped with all the like the operating licenses that are needed, but also to make sure that they operate from an environment that makes it conducive for them to come to work and to do that work effectively. Right now, we know of some of the modifications that have to be done to Stores Road to just make it even more conducive for officers. And by, well, going ahead with this, we will make their work even more well, again, come back to that word, conducive, because working as hard as they do, the least we can do as a council is to make sure that they have space enough to come in to put their things, but also to make sure that the vehicles are put in good order. So I do support this, and of course we'll always use every available opportunity to say a huge thank you to our hardworking officers who really do deserve it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Nwaha. Paul.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to build on what Councillor Nwaha said there about the working conditions down at Stores Road. And thank you to Simon, who's here this afternoon, for the work that he's done on this. We've seen some improvements there recently at Stores Road for better facilities for our staff. I mean, the staff that are based in this building, we're blessed with, you know, a fantastic working environment. It's not the same for all our members of staff across the board, and the last thing I want as Chief Executive is to appear that we've got some kind of two-tier workforce in terms of the working conditions that our staff are in. So I'm delighted with this. I'm really pleased that we've made improvements, particularly for our female members of staff, who, you know, very pleasingly we're seeing more and more on our front line, so that's absolutely fantastic, but we don't have the facilities to ensure that they've got the right you know, the right personal facilities to use. So that those improvements that we've made are really, really welcomed by the teams down at Stores Road, and obviously just following on from what Councillor Nwaha said, I really welcome this and can't wait to see it and see our staff working out of this new facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, Councillor Kerr, do you have any questions?
Yeah, it relates again to the recommendation from scrutiny, which looks at the climate implications. The comment here under 9.1 really talks more about the natural environment than the new build, and the recommendation is encouraging the RIBA4 process to get us to somewhere which we end up with a building and a service that we can be confident in. And it's just your reassurance that that can be done.
Thank you for that, Councillor Kerr. It's a good point, actually, and thank you for pointing out that at 9.1 we could actually have filled that out with much more detail about what we're doing in terms of the plans for the building in terms of zero carbon or low carbon buildings, which of course we aim to be as climate friendly and positive as possible in all of our construction projects. Regarding the recommendation, which I'll read out, the Executive Scrutiny Board resolved to ask Council Cabinet to use in-house climate change expertise to help specify a high-quality, low-carbon solution as guidance for the contractor developing the scheme up to RIBA 4. I take it that recommendation came from you, Councillor Kerr.
It came out of discussion. I think I worded it.
I thought you might have done, as a former engineer, referring to RIBA 4. So basically, the project, this is I'm going to read out now, should, I think, have been in the report at 9.1, to be fair. So we can all take that note back. The project group has established working with a contractor on the pre-construction work, which includes relevant surveys and design work. So we have a sustainable expert on the project group who is liaising with our in-house colleagues. So it is already in hand, and we should have made that clearer in the report. Okay. So thank you. I think that as a result of that, I feel assured that that is already being done. So there's no need to accept the recommendation because it's already there. Which takes me to the recommendations, which is 2.1 to 2.3. Excellent. Thank you very much. Item 15, that's the MTFS strategy. And over to you again, Councillor Kozlowski.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, medium-term financial strategy. And the purpose of this report is to update Cabinet on the strategy to develop the budgets for 2026 and the medium term. An overarching MTFS is recognised as good practice and provides a strategic framework, financial framework for the Council. The strategy underpins the delivery of the efficiency and budget savings of the authority for budget planning purposes. The key overriding aim of the strategy is it provides a high-level assessment of the financial resources required to deliver the Council's strategic priorities and its essential services over the medium term. The latest forecast summary financial position for Derby shows growing financial pressures for Derby next year with a projected budget gap of nearly £8 million. The report also outlines the national picture with the key issues facing local government. Most of these are well rehearsed and include strategic planning changes, demographic changes, housing pressures, both housing benefit subsidy and temporary accommodation. However, the fair funding reforms are causing some uncertainty within the sector, but welcome proposals are to allocate funding on a needs-based formula, including social indicators like population, deprivation and demand for adult and children's services are being considered, as well as council tax base and business rates. This is a welcome development for Derby and could mean further funding. The report outlines the proposed strategy for aligning this funding if it becomes available, including investment in the council plan priorities, the local government outcomes framework, the means by which central government assess the effectiveness of the council, and to continue to build financial resilience and address corporate risk. Despite the challenges facing local government nationally, the medium-term financial strategy shows that our careful spending and robust financial management are paying off, giving us much greater stability to continue transforming our city into a place that we can all be proud of. We welcome the government's acknowledgement that the way government is funded desperately needs to change. If they are confirmed, the government's proposed reforms would have the potential to support us in maintaining the progress that we have made towards achieving financial stability. The strategy highlights of the many complex financial pressures that local government faces, particularly how best to protect the city's most vulnerable residents and the rising costs of services due to inflation. Adult social care in particular places a significant demand on budgets, and the council has invested £35.2 million into the area over the past 4 years. And work to restore general reserves is also helping to put the council on a firmer financial footing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Kozlowski. Just looking at the chart at 4.1.6, the summary financial position. I'm going to be a little bit political now, because looking at the 26-27 gap of 1.4 million, that wouldn't have been there. You know, we had a balanced budget for 26-27 at the beginning of this year when we came to our budget proposal this year, and just going to take this opportunity to remind everybody that we've got to find that £1.4 million from somewhere as a result of the council tax not being raised to the maximum. You know, that was a political decision that was taken in this chamber, and ultimately, you know, we've got to find it from somewhere else, and that is the stark reality of when the politics works out like that. To look at 27-28 and have 7.6 million gap, I really, really hope that when we get to the next budget setting process, that, you know, councillors are not adding on another 1.4 million for the council to find. We've got to think to the future, and we've got to think about sustainability. We have to think about local government reorganisation. We have to think about our reserves, and we have to act responsibly. It's not always the popular thing, but it certainly is the right thing. Any comments from councillors from Cabinet? I beg your pardon. Okay, thank you. Councillor Kerr, do you have any questions? All right, thank you. The Executive Scrutiny Board resolved to note the report, so there's one recommendation at 2.1 to note the context. Are we all happy for that? Thank you very much. Item 16 is compliance with contract and financial procedure rules. Councillor Kozlowski.
Thank you. The report to Cabinet outlines two main elements. The first is to authorise the use of a contract waiver for the extension of the combined liability insurance policy to align with the Council's insurance programme. So this insurance provides protection against claims from employees, service users and members of the public, and renewal of the policy is necessary to avoid any break in statutory or operational cover that the Council needs. A contract waiver has been used to allow the renewal to proceed without delay and to align the policy renewal date with the wider insurance portfolio, enabling all policies to be tendered together in 2026. So it's just a timing matter. Our brokers advise that if this insurance were tendered separately, it would result in less favourable terms, reduced market competitiveness and inefficiencies in procurement. So that's the first item. The second item is a bid for an acceptance of depot charging scheme funding of up to £1 million from central government. The £30 million depot charging scheme launched by central government supports the adoption of zero-emission HGVs, vans and coaches by funding up to 75% of charging infrastructure costs at fleet depots, with a maximum of £1 million per organisation. The Council, in partnership with Derby Homes, wishes to submit a bid up to £1 million from this scheme. The scheme will cover costs for charge points and their installation, but excludes electric vehicle purchases and grid connection costs. The application deadline is 28th of November this year, with work to be completed by 31st of March next year. Quick turnaround. The initiative aligns with our goals to reduce emissions and improve fleet standards, particularly at the Stores Road and London Road depots. It will aid in electrifying our fleet, enhancing air quality and reducing our carbon footprint, as current refuse vehicles emit 25 to 30 tonnes of emissions annually. A lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kozlowski. I'm sure if Councillor Swan were not poorly today, she would be praising this bid and hoping for the acceptance of it, because it moves us on significantly with our own carbon reductions. Any comments? Okay. Councillor Hazelgrave?
Just an observation that moving to electric is cheaper than buying gallons of or litres of diesel or petrol. So it actually saves on the amount of cost that it is for all those many, many miles each of those vehicles is going to do around the city.
Thank you, Councillor Hazelgrave. Councillor Kerr, do you have any comments? Okay, thank you. The Executive Scrutiny Board resolved to note the report. So recommendations are 2.1 to 2.4. Thank you very much. So item 17 is the exclusion of press and public. A resolution to exclude the press and public was put to the vote and carried. Oh, no, it wasn't. Not yet. Not yet, it wasn't. That was at the exec scrutiny. The board resolved that under section 100A of the Local Government Act 1972, the press and public be excluded from the meeting during discussion of the following item on the grounds that it involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3, part 1, schedule 12A of the Act, and that the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. Are we all happy with that? Thank you very much. Thank you and good night.